Hey guys, in this video we're going to be talking about how to graph linear functions in all three forms without using technology. So we're going to talk about how to graph an equation that is in slope-intercept form, or y equals mx plus b, how to graph one in point-slope form, and how to graph one in standard form. So let's start with the one that is in slope-intercept form, because that is the most common form that you will see. So here we go. A big snowstorm is passing through Baltimore. The height of snow on Jasper's driveway can be modeled by the equation y equals 2/3 x, and it's supposed to say plus 5, it just printed funny, where y is the height of the snow in inches and x is the hours after midnight. All right, the first question wants to know how many inches of snow are on the ground at midnight. Now, knowing that x is the number of hours after midnight tells us that our starting value is at midnight. So that means my y-intercept is actually going to be how many inches of snow are on the ground at midnight. So for number 1, it's going to be 5 inches. I-N-C-H-E-S. All right, number 2 says how many inches of snow are on the driveway at 3 a.m.? Well, 3 a.m. is 3 hours after midnight, so that means x is 3 in this case. So I would do 2/3 times 3 plus 5. 2/3 times 3 is 2, plus 5 is 7. So that means at 3 a.m. there would be 7 inches on the ground. All right, number 3 says graph the relationship between the height of the snow and the time on the graph provided. Now, the graph provided would be the graph that's on your whiteboards in class, but I have a little grid here. Now, this was made to have 4 quadrants, but I just turned it into a first quadrant graph because since this is a real world scenario, you can't have negative time or negative inches of snow, so we only need the positive quadrant. So we're gonna use this. All right, so the first thing we need to do is label and scale our axes. Now I know that x is number of hours after midnight, so I'm gonna write number of hours. And I know that y is the inches of snow, so number of inches. All right, so then when I go to scale, I just kind of have to think about how things are changing. My slope, which we're going to answer that question here in a minute, is 2/3. Now remember, it's y over x, so that means 2 inches every 3 hours. So I'm going to need to go up 2/3, which means I can count by ones and not have to worry about anything. So here's where 1 is. 2, I'm just going to do every other one because I don't have a lot of space. So this is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, this one's 19. And the same thing going up. So here's 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Okay, now to graph in slope-intercept form, remember the 2 things that we have are the slope and the intercept. So that's what we're going to use to graph. So my y-intercept is 5. That's the starting point. So I'm going to put a point where the y-axis is at 5, which is right there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now my slope is rise 2, run 3. So I'm going to go up 2 and over 1, 2, 3. So that matches what we got for number 2, right? In 3 hours, we have 7 inches of snow. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Now, 3 points is probably enough to stop, and you would use a ruler to make your line, but I don't have one right at this moment, so I'm just going to do my best here. And that would be the graph that represents this function. All right, number 4 says, what is the slope of the line? So we've kind of already answered that. So number 4, the slope is 2/3. That means 2 inches of snow every 3 hours. And again, this was problem number 3 over here. Number 5 is, what is the y-intercept, which we've already answered. The y-intercept is 5. Okay. And then number 6 says, at what time will there be exactly 8 inches of snow on the ground? All right, so if I look at my graph first, we're gonna see if we have a point where we have 8 inches of snow. So inches is the y-axis, so I'm gonna focus there. Here's 8 inches. If I go over, it's gonna hit my line right about there, which is not perfect on the grid. I don't hit a point, so I'm actually gonna show you how to do this algebraically, because it wants to know when is there exactly 8 inches. It doesn't want us to estimate. So I know that I have the equation y equals 2/3 x plus 5. 8 inches is my y value here. So I'm going to take 8 and put it in for y. So 8 equals 2/3 x plus 5. And then I'm just going to solve this equation. I'm going to subtract 5 first. That's going to give me 3 equals 2/3 x. Then divide by 2/3. And if you have a calculator handy, you can go ahead and use that. So 3 divided by 2/3 is 9/2. So we get x is 9/2 or 4.5, and then x represents number of hours. So 4.5 hours. So that's how long it will take for there to be exactly 8 inches of snow on the ground. All right, and the final question says, if there are 12 inches or more of snow on the ground at 6 a.m., school will get canceled. Should the school close for the day? All right, so let's take a look at that. So here's our graph. If we need it to be, let's see, 6 a.m., that's 6 hours, which is right here, after midnight. Let's go up and hit the graph. That's at 9 inches of snow, which is less than 12. So that means for number 7, no, school should not close there will be 9 inches of snow at 6 a.m. Okay, and that's it. That's slope-intercept form. Let's try one with point slope. All right, so Miss Green bought a bag of dog food for Rory. The equation that you see here, y minus 40 equals -5/2 times x minus 8, represents the number of cups of food remaining, which is y after x days. So the first thing it wants us to do is create a graph that represents the scenario. Be sure to label and scale the axes. All right, so once again, here's my graph. So this is gonna be problem number 1. It told us that x is days, so that means this is number of days. And y is cups remaining, so number of cups. Okay, so it's important to remember with point slope, you are not given the y-intercept. You are given a point and a slope, or a point on the line and a slope. So that's what we're gonna be using to graph this time. All right, so if I take the equation that they gave us, which was this, y minus 40 equals -5/2 times x minus 8. Remember that this number right here in front of the parentheses is our slope, so we know that m is -5/2, and we know that our point, or pt, is 840, because remember, it's the opposite of what they give you. Okay, so when I go to scale this, I know that I need to get the point 840 on here, and my slope is -5/2. Okay, so you kind of want to think about how many spaces you have here. I know that with this graph in particular that I have, it has 20 spaces on the x-axis and 20 spaces on the y-axis. Now, if I want to go down 5 and over 2, I think what I'm actually going to do is count my cups by 5, so I know I get to 40, and my x-axis by 1s, because I need to go over 2 days, okay? So I'm gonna count 1, 2, 3, 4, just like I did before. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And then I'm gonna count by 5s here. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, 100. All right, there we go. Now to graph in point slope, you start with the point. My point is 840. So here's 8, and I'm gonna go up until I find the 40. Let's see, so this is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. And I know that my slope is negative, so that means I'm gonna go down 5, which remember is really only 1, and over 2. But I also like to make sure that I get my y-intercept if possible, so I'm gonna go backwards as well. So that means up 5 over 2, up 5 over 2, which would be right about there. Okay, so here's my line, and it is decreasing, which makes sense because Rory's gonna be eating the food in that bag, and eventually the bag will be empty, okay? All right, now we have a couple of questions. The second question says, what is the slope? We've already answered that, so number 2 is right here. The slope is -5 over 2. Number 3 says, what is the y-intercept? Well, lucky for us, we went back and we found that. The y-intercept is 60. So number 3, I'm gonna put 60, and that's cups, which means that the bag starts with 60 cups in it. All right, now the second question is, what is the x-intercept, which we did not find, but we could keep doing keep using our slope to continue the line. So down 5 over 2, down 5 over 2, down 5 over 2. Oops, hold on. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and it's off the graph. So that means I'm not actually going to be able to find it. So we're gonna have to use the equation. Okay, so for number 4, it says my equation is y minus 40 equals -5 over 2 times x minus 8. All right, so I want to know what my x-intercept is. So that means my y value has to be 0. So if I plug 0 in here, that's going to give me -40. So I now have -40 equals, and I'm going to distribute here, -5 over 2x plus 8 divided by 2 is 4 times 5 is 20. I'm going to subtract that 20 on over. That's going to give me -60 equals -5 over 2x divided by -5 over 2. I'm going to get x equals, let's go ahead and make sure we get it right. So -60 divided by -5 over 2 gives me 24. And remember, x is days. So what that means is that bag of food will last Rory 24 days. All right, one more problem. It is standard form. We haven't done a ton of work with standard form other than changing the equation into standard form, but there's actually a good reason why we might work with standard form for certain types of problems. So it says, when planning out your fall break, you decide to spend 600 minutes watching movies and TV shows. The shows that you choose to binge last 25 minutes each, and the movies that you choose last 100 minutes each. The equation 100x plus 25y equals 600, where x is the number of movies you watch and y is the number of TV shows you watch. All right, so graph the situation, be sure to label and scale the axes. Now, instead of graphing first, what I actually want to do is skip to numbers 2 and 3. So for number 2, it says, what is the y-intercept? So if this is my equation, and I want to know what my y-intercept is, that means x has to be 0. Now 100 times 0 is 0, so I'm left with 25y equals 600. And to solve that, I divide both sides by 25, and I get y equals 600 divided by 25 is going to give us 24. Okay, and the y value is TV shows, so 24 TV shows. And then number 3 wants us to find the x-intercept, which is very similar, except instead of x being 0 this time, it's the y that is 0. So 25y equals 600. So if I put a 0 in here, I have 25 times 0, which is 0. So now I have 100x equals 600. Divide by 100. I get x equals 6 movies. So really all this means is if you choose to only watch TV shows, you can watch 24 TV shows. And if you chose to write or watch only movies, you can watch 6 movies. All right, so let's go back to that graph, okay? Now, I can actually use my intercepts to make my graph and just make my life really, really easy. Instead of manipulating the equation, I can just use the intercepts, which is the whole point of using standard form. So let's go ahead and do that. So I know that X is number of movies, and I know that I need to get to 6, so I'm just going to count by ones. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's where 6 is. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, 20. All right, and I know that Y is number of TV shows, but I need to get to 24, and I know I only have 20 lines, so I'm actually going to count by 2s for this one, okay? So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, here's 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, and 40. Now that I have the 2 intercepts, and I have marked off, that was 13, 15, 17. Now that I have the 2 intercepts, I can just connect them and make my line, because I cannot go past that in either direction. So that is the equation of the line. So standard form is actually really easy. Just find the 2 intercepts and then connect them on the graph. Now the last question says, name 3 possible combinations of movies and TV shows that you could watch in 600 hours. Now it's important to remember that your answers lie on the line in this case. So you want to pick any number that's on the line. So the 2 easiest ones to pick are the intercepts. So I'm going to do that. So number 4, I could do 6 movies, no TV shows. I could do no movies and 24 TV shows. And then I have to pick another one that works. So it looks like 3 and 12 works, but let's just double check. So 3 would be 300 plus 25 times 12 it was. If it equals 600, we're good, and it does. So that's what we're going to use. So 3 movies and 12 TV shows. Now those are probably not the only options. There are others, but those are the ones that are easy to see. So basically you could choose the intercepts and then 1 more point on the line that works, or you could pick any 3 points on the line. It's up to you. But that's it. That's how you graph linear functions in any of their forms.